All right. And now, Tommy Lee Jones reacts to a fart. What the hell was that? Thank you. More? All right. America's changing, folks. It is. Not as much as some people seem to think it is. Some people seem to think America was this shining utopia and it's just now starting to go downhill. Let's be honest, America's kind of been a toilet ever since certain people came here and said, this is ours now. And people that already lived there said, but this is our home. And they said, oh, cry me a trail. But, happy Thanksgiving, folks. But it's interesting though, a lot of people say, oh, everyone's so overly sensitive nowadays. It's so hard, everyone's so overly sensitive nowadays. Says the woman who's afraid to let a trans person take a piss in the same room, Linda. Back in my day, people weren't so easily offended. Yes, they were. You just couldn't hear them because they were all sitting in the back. And why is it always that it's these like old intolerant, just shrill up douchebags that are offended by swearing? That doesn't make any sense to me. So you can only say something hateful if it means something? Like, I'm not allowed to say the word hell unless I'm saying that's where fags go. Is that how it works? Or any reference to sexual intercourse is inappropriate unless you're slut-shaming any woman who's ever had it. And if I dare attack your moral character, I'm attacking your beliefs. But I'm more than welcome to join in your conversation about how the blacks are so disrespectful. Give me a break. It's ridiculous. I know a guy, this is totally true, I could not make this up. This is too stupid for me to write. He actually said, so wait, so we can have a helicopter called an Apache, but we can't have a football team called the Redskins? Well, yeah, that's not a slur, you stupid asshole. Wait a minute. You're telling me there can be a building on my block labeled Kosher Deli, but I can't call my son's soccer coach a Heeb? How does that work? And that's right, folks. I made the Jewish character athletic. That's how progressive I am. Don't worry, I can say that. I have a Jewish friend. Maybe you've heard of him. His name is Jesus. I actually am Christian. A lot of people are surprised by that, just because I'll often send my mouth into the gutter because my mind got stuck there. But I actually am. However, I take issue with a few common stances among American evangelicals. First of all, there are people on both sides of the argument, admittedly, who believe that literal six-day creationism ought to be taught side by side with evolution because so many people believe in it. There's only one problem with that. One of those things actually happened. You can't just decide collectively as educators that you have to humor half of the population. Well, on one side, we have over 100 years of research and carbon dating and scientists with multiple degrees who dedicated their lives to constantly researching and updating and revising, making sure that all the information is always as accurate as possible. And on the other side, you've got a folk tale that was never intended to illustrate a scientific process that has remained virtually unchanged for thousands of years. And hey, if it was true 5,000 years ago, why wouldn't it be just as true now? That doesn't make any sense. Just because enough people believe something, that doesn't mean you have to teach it. Well, class, before we begin our unit on the American War on Terror in the late 1990s and early 2000s, we have to acknowledge that there is a significant portion of our students who believe that Droopy Dog was behind 9/11. And here's a video by Ken Ham to teach you all about it. You can't be thinking, LF there. Stupid. Another thing that has confounded me for years is I've always wondered, why is it that the Christian right is so hell-bent, just so obsessed with embryos, with fetuses? Why is that the top priority? Why does that take precedent over literally everything? And I think I finally figured it out. If a baby hasn't been born yet, the Christian right can't hate it because of how it was born. It all makes sense now. A baby can't be, or an embryo can't be black or gay or Muslim or trans or gender fluid or even sexually active in the first place. It's the only thing they can't judge. Now the mother, judge the hell out of her. She's a whore for going to within 10 feet of a penis. But that precious fetus, Blameless. I'm not trying to say that abortion isn't a complex issue. I'm just pointing out what I consider to be a absurd hypocrisy. I believe that, for one, I never know someone's story, and also I never have had, don't have, and never will have a uterus, and therefore those decisions shouldn't be up to me.
Thank you.
Don't applaud that. Don't applaud that. I'm just doing the bare minimum here. You wouldn't applaud someone because they didn't take a dump in an elevator. You would just expect that of a decent human being. It's amazing, though, that we love to celebrate the bare minimum. And I'm not picking on you guys. I had anticipated that someone would applaud that, and I figured I could use it as an easy segue. So thank you for being my unknowing pawns in this cruel game that I'm playing. See me after the show. But we love to celebrate mediocrity. It's a shallow world. The entertainment industry has always been shallow, but I don't know if it's always been this comically obvious. For instance, Taylor Swift. That's the appropriate response. Taylor Swift has a range of about 7 notes. I'll say 2 of them are pleasant, and without the aid of computer would never be the correct ones. And she has all of these awards. Only in the entertainment industry could you get away with that. You couldn't be a nuclear physicist and be, well, all you did was make a papier-mâché volcano, but you're young and attractive and you tell emotionally compromised preteens to be themselves. Here's a Nobel Prize. Be yourself. Be yourself. Be yourself, says the hot blonde clone of every chart topper of the past 10 years. Be yourself. You know, be yourself is the new what would Jesus do. You're not actually gonna do it, but you feel better about yourself knowing that you entertained the possibility. So you can continue being a fake delusional bitch who plays a tragic victim for a living, despite being a gorgeous millionaire, and is somehow under the delusion that a nasally sigh in the general direction of a note counts as singing. And one minute is visiting sick fans in the hospital, and the next minute throwing a hissy fit because someone else used your catchphrase. But don't worry, you can make up for it with plenty of cultural appropriation. Trust me, that's not the worst thing you've heard about a celebrity this month. Do you guys know that you now have to download Adobe Reader in order to watch House of Cards? Turns out Kevin Spacey's a pedophile. Because the British pronunciation... But hey, he already has a 10-point lead in Alabama. Can you believe that there are actually people saying, you know, well, I don't care if he's a pedophile as long as he's not a liberal. He's a dirty old man that wants to put his dirty old penis inside teenagers. As long as he's screwing the poor, he can screw as many kids as he wants. That's the important thing. Another thing that gets on my nerves, besides pedophilia, is when people presume to think for you. When someone's trying to tell you not to do something, and they say, well, how would you feel if... No, stop right there. Just tell me not to do it. Don't assume how I think. Sometimes you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. I was running Spotlight for a play at school one time, and I had no more cues left. What? I had no more cues left. And the first act was almost over. I really had to pee. So I went on the clear comm and I said, spot 1 going off comm. Went to the bathroom, came back, and once intermission started, the whiteboard operator came over to me and said, you can't do that. You can't leave during the show. I was like, oh, sorry. It seemed a little unreasonable to me, but I went with it. And then she said, well, how would you feel if you were performing and someone did that to you? Well, I wouldn't want to hold them hostage. You get to pee when I say you get to pee, damn it. I am your God. How egotistical of an actor do you think I am? Another thing is, I will be at restaurants with friends, whatever, and I'll complain about the music that's playing because it came out within the last 10 years. And I'll say, the reason it bugs me, like not just on a level of I don't like this, but it just gets under my skin, is the fact that there's no skill required on any front. It doesn't, the lyrics, have nothing new to say, no interesting way of saying them, nor do they tell an interesting story. And musically, it doesn't take any skill to create or produce or anything. And I had a friend one time say, well, yeah, sometimes you want that, but sometimes you just want a good beat. Well, no, I do not. If I'm listening to music, I want it to be good music. If I simply wanted a good beat, I would marry Johnny Depp. One of these days, Amber, to the moon, riding a kisser. That is a quality baby boomer reference, by the way. I don't care if you don't appreciate it. I am an impressionist. I usually like to end with my impressions just because they're the least bitter part of my act. I don't want the entirety to just be me saying why I hate existing. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is a lot of impressions are actually very similar to each other. They're just slight variations on the same voice. For instance, Sir Patrick Stewart, it's one of my favorites. One of the finest actors I think working today. But if you take that voice, you move your lower jaw forward. Well, then you add the Scottish accent, see? There you go, Sean Connery. It's just that simple, folks, one shirt to another. Or Owen Wilson, for instance. That's a fairly easy one. You just kind of bring it all right here. But you can take that voice and bring the pitch all the way down here. Well, now you've got Nicolas Cage. And from there, there's two ways you can go. You can either add an Irish accent and then you get Liam Neeson. Or you can add a growl underneath it and add a New York accent and booyah! You got Pacino. It's amazing though how a voice can change absolutely anything you say. You know, there's the old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's totally true. A voice can change what you're saying just in a drastic way. Sir Michael Caine could say something, he could say the whitest and trashiest things and they still sound almost classy. For God's sake, would you turn down your dang Luke Bryan album? I'm trying to watch Real Housewives over here. See, that almost sounds like something who's worth the oxygen. Or Robert De Niro has a great voice. He could say anything and it'd scare the shit out of you. Anything he says could sound intimidating. He could be a nursery rhyme. Hey, let me tell you something. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown. What can I say? Accidents happen. Another one, I think one of the greatest voices is Sam Elliott. His voice, he can make anything sound wise. It has that warmth to it. Just, well, let me tell you what we're gonna do here. We're gonna tie you up by your testicles and down you over a bathtub full of lemon juice. After a while, you'll lose all circulation in the twins and plop right down. And you'd be like, oh, that's right. Anyone want to guess what my favorite voice is? Not just to do, but just in general. Anybody? No, I love doing that voice, but my favorite voice is Vincent Price. Does anyone remember Vincent Price? I love that man. His voice, for one, made anything not only interesting, but it could sound like Shakespeare. He could provide gravitas to anything. He could say the dumbest of dumb, the craziest of crazy, the most guanomaniacal of batshit. And it sound beautiful. I'm sick of them putting chemicals in the water that turn the freaking frogs gay. There is the question asked. Is our children learning? Only dead fish go with the flow. That's one of those things that sounds wise until you realize it's just not true at all. And of course, we have to end with this. I've often said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I would be dating her. Sorry, losers and haters, but my IQ is one of the highest, and you all know it. Don't feel so stupid or insecure. It's not your fault. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Will Lasley. Have a good night.